There are very few things in this world that are more attractive than being a professional footballer, and as a result, the quest to become one has always been at an all-time high. However, there have been a few footballers who have had the opportunity to live out the dreams of millions of people around the world, but turned it down. Starting off our list is God's footballer Peter Nolles. Peter Nolles is regarded as one of the best young talents to come out of Wolves' youth system, scoring 101 goals for the club before hanging his boots at the tender age of 24 after becoming a Jehovah's Witness, which earned him the nickname God's Footballer. Nolles was born in 1945 in Fitzwilliam, West Yorkshire, England, into a rugby family, as his father, Cyril Nolles, was a professional rugby player. He was scouted by Wolves in 1961 at the age of 16, and by 17 he went on to sign a 6-year contract. His breakout season came in the 64-65 season, where his 6 goals wasn't enough to keep Wolves in the first division, as they were relegated from the league. Despite drawing interest from other first division teams, Nolles followed Wolves to the second division, where he became a key player for the club, and in 1967, just 2 years after getting relegated, he was crucial in bringing Wolves back to the first division. In the summer of 1969, Nolles traveled to Kansas to participate in a promotional football league organized by FIFA to promote football in the United States. It was at Kansas that Nolles opened his doors to 2 Jehovah's Witnesses who would change his life forever. Upon his return to England, Nolles confessed he no longer had an interest in playing football and would prefer to dedicate his time to studying the Bible. "I shall continue playing football for the time being, but I have lost my ambition. I need more time to learn about the Bible." He would go on to participate in Wolves' opening 7 games of the 1969 season, but after a 3-3 draw against Nottingham Forest in September 1969, at just 24, Nolles walked away from football.
But I found that when I started reading the Bible, and when I started trying to be a Christian, I found that after Wednesday, the nearer we got to Saturday, I was dragging myself away from my wife, and I was dragging myself away from religion. I was starting to be on my own, and I was thinking about the game, and I was thinking how I was going to play, and what happened if somebody kicked me, or what happened if somebody was going to score, what would I do? And I was really getting involved in the game. And from Wednesday until Saturday, I might as well not be married. I might as well have been on my own. But this is wrong, because the Bible expects you to be a Christian 7 days a week.
Wolves continued honoring his contract even after he left the club, hoping that Nolles would rethink his decision and come back to the club, but that never happened. And in 1982, 12 years after he left the club, his contract was officially terminated. Life outside football wasn't glamorous for Nolles, as he went on to earn a living working as a milkman and a warehouse window cleaner. Despite his condition, Nolles has consistently insisted he never regretted giving up football. "There hasn't been one day in 40 years where I have turned around and wished I hadn't packed up football. It's the best decision that I've ever made. I'm content with life. When I look at my standard of living and how it has dropped over the years, it doesn't matter. I have my health, I'm still married, and if I had carried on playing football, I wouldn't have been." As shocking as Nolles' story sounds, it would be recreated 55 years later by Swiss footballer Silvan Wallner. Before Silvan Wallner shocked the football world by hanging up his boots at just 22, he was living every young player's dream. This Swiss-born defender wasn't just playing the game, he was thriving. But behind the tackles and triumphs, something bigger was stirring in his heart. Born on January 15, 2002, in Zurich, Switzerland, Silvan grew up with a ball at his feet. Silvan joined the youth setup at FC Zurich, where he quickly rose through the ranks, earning a reputation as a solid defender with the potential to go far, and go far he did. By 2019, Silvan was playing with FC Zurich reserves. Not long after, he broke into the senior squad, showing fans that he was more than just another academy graduate. His defining moment came during the 2021 to 2022 season, when he helped FC Zurich clinch the Swiss Super League title. Not bad for a kid who hadn't even hit his 20s. In September 2024, Silvan made a bold move, signing a 2-year deal with Austrian Bundesliga side Blau-Weiß Linz. It was a chance to showcase his skills on an international stage and prove he had what it took to go global. But while fans were expecting tackles and headers, Silvan was having a spiritual awakening that would change everything. Silvan started exploring Christianity more deeply. It wasn't just a casual thing, it became the center of his life. A big part of his faith was observing the biblical Sabbath, a day of rest and worship that falls on Saturdays. And as a professional footballer whose weekends are filled with matches and training sessions, it was almost impossible for Silvan to observe Sabbath. The conflict between his spiritual commitments and his football career came to a head. Silvan realized he couldn't fully dedicate himself to both, and after a lot of soul-searching, he made the ultimate decision. In October 2024, just weeks after joining Blau-Weiß Linz, Silvan announced his retirement from football. I want to follow Jesus Christ, and the biblical day of rest has become important to me. Unsurprisingly, the football world was stunned. How often does a 22-year-old walk away from a blossoming career for faith? Silvan expressed gratitude to his club and supporters, thanking them for understanding his decision, even if it meant cutting his professional journey short. For Silvan, faith gave him a sense of purpose and fulfillment that football, despite all its glory, couldn't match. Another footballer who left the game because it became unfulfilling is David Bentley. Back in the mid-2000s, if you were an English football fan, you couldn't avoid the hype around David Bentley. Slick on the ball, sharp on the wing, and with a killer right foot, people were calling him the next David Beckham. But fast forward a few years, and Bentley wasn't bending it anymore, he was blending it. The ex-winger swapped the pitch for the kitchen, finding a second life in the restaurant business. Bentley's story starts in Peterborough, England, where he was born on August 27, 1984. Like most kids in football-mad England, Bentley grew up with dreams of making it big. He joined Arsenal's youth academy as a teenager and quickly drew attention with his creative playmaking and dead ball skills. As a result, he was heralded as the heir to Beckham's throne even before he cracked Arsenal's first team.
Shot their vision, it's Bentley, and it's in! Great goal from David Bentley!
Bentley made his Premier League debut for Arsenal in 2003, but struggled to break into a squad stacked with legends like Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp. After a few cameo appearances, he was sent on loan to Norwich City, where he started showing flashes of brilliance. His real breakthrough came at Blackburn Rovers, where he signed permanently in 2006. At Blackburn, Bentley was unstoppable. He was scoring screamers, delivering inch-perfect crosses, and generally making defenders look silly. He is mostly remembered at Blackburn for his 2006 hat-trick against Manchester United. By 2008, Bentley had become one of the league's top wingers, earning him a £15 million move to Tottenham. It seemed like he was destined for stardom, but life at Spurs wasn't the fairy tale he'd hoped for. Bentley struggled to adapt, and injuries didn't help his case. One of his standout moments as Spurs was a ridiculous 40-yard volley against Arsenal.
Well, that is an amazing goal!
As iconic as that was, consistency was elusive. Loan spells at Birmingham City, West Ham, and even a stint in Russia with FC Rostov followed, but Bentley couldn't recapture the magic, and by 2014, at just 29 years, he hanged his boots. According to him, it wasn't about injuries or form, it was about passion.
Why did you fall out of love with football?
Yeah, no, I love football, no, but it's just started to not like it. You know, social media come in and some more focus, more money, and yeah, I just lost interest in it, yeah.
Bentley said the modern game felt too robotic, dominated by money and social media. After leaving football, Bentley did what many athletes dream of but rarely do. He completely reinvented himself. Instead of lingering around the game as a pundit or coach, he threw himself into the culinary world. Bentley co-owned a restaurant in Marbella, Spain, and later invested in beach clubs and a London eatery alongside fellow footballers Raheem Sterling and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Looking back, Bentley doesn't regret leaving football. For him, the game had lost its charm, but life outside it was full of possibilities. Talking about possibilities, another Englishman who sought outside possibilities is Romeo Beckham. When your dad is a global football royalty like David Beckham and your mom is Victoria Beckham, a pop star turned high-fashion powerhouse, the world expects greatness. And let's be honest, Romeo Beckham was born with pressure in his DNA, but instead of just riding the Beckham wave, he's carved his own path, starting with football before taking the fashion world by storm. Romeo was born on September 1st, 2002, in London, into one of the most famous families on the planet. While his older brother Brooklyn dabbled into photography, and his younger brother Cruz dived into music, Romeo was drawn to the football pitch. Like any Beckham kid, Romeo's first love was football, and at the age of 10, he joined Arsenal's youth academy. The dream was to follow in his dad's footsteps and maybe one day don the iconic England jersey. But in 2015, Romeo, along with his brother Brooklyn, was released from Arsenal's academy, a reality check for even the most famous last name. After that, Romeo decided to try his hands on tennis and got serious about the sport. Under the guidance of legendary tennis player Andy Murray, there were murmurs about a potential career in tennis, but fate and perhaps genetics pulled him back to football. In 2021, Romeo signed with his dad's Inter Miami reserve team. His stats were promising: 26 appearances, 2 goals, and 10 assists. Romeo's playing style showed shades of his dad's precision and vision, and in January 2023, Romeo joined Brentford's B team on loan.
Very proud and very happy to be here. I came here at the start just to get fit during the off-season, and obviously the chance came to come on loan, and never been so excited.
It was a big step up, signaling his potential to carry on the Beckham football legacy. However, in September 2024, Romeo shocked fans when he turned down a new contract offer from Brentford and made the bold move to retire from professional football at just 22 to focus on his modeling career. Fashion isn't entirely new for Romeo. At just 10 years old, he starred in a Burberry ad campaign, posing in designer coats like a pro. After all, with David and Victoria Beckham as your role models, you've got front row fashion education built in. In 2021, Romeo signed a whopping £1.2 million deal with Puma, becoming one of the youngest ambassadors for the sportswear giant. But he wasn't done. Romeo also worked with Yves Saint Laurent, solidifying his place in the high fashion world. The big moment came in September 2024 during Paris Fashion Week, when Romeo made his official runway debut. Walking for Balenciaga's 25 spring collection, he strutted his stuff with the confidence of someone who knows exactly where they belong. While Romeo's football career may have been brief, his passion for fashion seems boundless. He's now a rising star in the industry, blending his family's legendary style with modern aesthetic. Another footballer who got tired of the weight of his father's legacy is Enzo Zidane. When your dad is Zinedine Zidane, one of the greatest footballers to ever grace the pitch, the world expects you to have magical feet too. That's exactly what Enzo Zidane faced, an entire career spent under the spotlight, where every touch of the ball was compared to his father's iconic moments. Born on March 24th, 1995 in Bordeaux, France, Enzo Alain Zidane Fernandez grew up surrounded by football greatness. His father Zidane was in the prime of his career, dazzling the world with his insane skills. By the time Enzo could walk, football was already a part of his daily life, and at the age of 9 he joined Real Madrid's youth academy. Playing in the same midfield position as his dad, Enzo quickly showed promise, drawing admiration for his technical skills and intelligence on the ball. But being Zidane's son came with huge expectations. Fans didn't just want him to be good, they wanted him to be Zidane good. Still, Enzo worked hard and earned his big moment on November 30th, 2016. Playing under his father, who was then managing Real Madrid, Enzo made his first team debut in a Copa del Rey match against Cultural Leonesa. In true Zidane fashion, he scored a stunning goal from the edge of the box, showing the world a glimpse of his talent. For a moment, it seemed like he might just live up to the family name, but breaking into Real Madrid's star-studded squad was easier said than done. With players like Luka Modric and Toni Kroos running the show, Enzo needed regular game time to develop, and that didn't look like happening at Madrid. In 2017, he made a bold decision to leave the club and signed with Deportivo Alavés in La Liga. It was a fresh start, but unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. He only managed 4 appearances before moving on to Swiss club Lausanne Sports. Over the next few years, Enzo's career became a whirlwind of transfers. From Portugal to Spain's lower leagues and even France, he played for clubs like Rayo Majadahonda, Aves, and Rodez. Despite his best efforts, he struggled to find consistency. It wasn't for lack of talent. Enzo had skills, but living up to the Zidane name seemed like an impossible task. By the 2022-2023 season, Enzo was playing for Fuenlabrada in Spain's 3rd tier, but the spark that had once driven him began to fade. After spending over a year without a club, Enzo announced his retirement from professional football in September 2024 at just 29 years old. He admitted that the pressure of constantly being compared to his father had taken its toll. It's hard to enjoy the game when people are always waiting for you to be someone you're not. Since leaving the sport, Enzo has shown interest in business. While he hasn't shared all the details of his ventures, Enzo is finally stepping out of his father's shadow and building a legacy of his own. Talking about legacy, Conor McGregor has managed to build a legacy away from the sport he played as a kid. Before you knew him as the guy with the sharpest tongue in MMA and a whiskey brand that's almost as famous as he is, Conor McGregor had a very different dream. Back in the day, he wasn't throwing punches in an octagon. He was running around Dublin's football fields, trying to score goals and dreaming of being a football star. Conor McGregor was born on July 14th, 1988 in Crumlin, Dublin. It was a modest upbringing, surrounded by hardworking parents and a community that didn't make things easy. Life in Crumlin wasn't exactly glamorous, but it was where Conor's competitive fire started to burn. He joined Lord's Celtic, a local football club where his quick feet and aggression made him stand out. Football was everything to him, at least for a while. Conor would lace up his boots and hit the pitch, dreaming of a future where he could make his family proud. But those dreams started to shift at just 10 years old when Conor walked into the Crumlin Boxing Club for the first time. At first, it was just about self-defense, but boxing quickly became more than that when his coaches noticed his boxing talent, especially his ability to read opponents and avoid punches, a skill that would later become one of his trademarks. As Conor got older, he found himself torn between two worlds, the football pitch and the boxing ring. Things took another twist when his family moved to Lucan, a suburb of Dublin, in 2006. And in a bid to support his family, at 17, Conor started a plumbing apprenticeship. It was at Lucan that Conor got introduced to mixed martial arts by his high school friend Tom Egan, who went on to become the first Irish fighter in the UFC. The intensity and the sheer unpredictability of mixed martial arts hooked Conor in a way football never did. He threw himself into training, giving up his plumbing job to focus on MMA full-time, a move that didn't sit well with his family. His first amateur MMA fight came in 2007. At just 18, Conor knocked out his opponent, Kieran Campbell, in the first round. This impressive victory would mark the turning point of his fighting career, as he started training under legendary trainer John Kavanagh. By 2012, Conor had made history by becoming the first European fighter to hold two Cage Warriors titles simultaneously. This caught the attention of the UFC, and the rest is history. Conor went on to become a two-division champion, bringing the same showmanship and swagger he once displayed on Dublin's football fields to the global stage. According to Conor, he didn't leave football because he wasn't good enough. It is just that football didn't give him the same rush and sense of purpose that fighting did.
Yeah, I used to play soccer. Football was a big thing, like most boys around Ireland, Scotland, England. It's a big part of culture.
When did you stop playing soccer?
When I realised it was for women, you know, I would rather fight.
Another footballer who left the game for the fighting business is Tim Wiese. When you think of career changes, trading football boots for wrestling gear isn't exactly the first thing that comes to mind. But for Tim Wiese, he left the bright lights of the Bundesliga to chase a dream that most people wouldn't dare to imagine. Born on December 17, 1981, in Bergisch Gladbach, Germany, Wiese was just a regular kid with big dreams of making it in football. He started out with DJK Derscheid, his local club, before getting picked up by Bayer Leverkusen's youth system. By 1999, he was playing professionally with Fortuna Cologne, and soon, the Bundesliga came calling. Wiese is mostly remembered for his time at Werder Bremen, where he made 194 appearances and became a household name. At Bremen, he carved a reputation as a no-nonsense goalkeeper. Big, bold, and not afraid to throw himself into danger, Wiese helped Bremen win the DFB Pokal in 2009 and became a cornerstone of their European campaigns. He even made it to the German national team, earning 6 caps and sitting on the bench during the 2010 FIFA World Cup. In 2012, Wiese joined Hoffenheim and things went south. Injuries and inconsistent performances made his time there rough, and by 2014, Hoffenheim would let him go. For most players, this is where the credits roll, but not for Wiese. He had other plans. After his release, something about Wiese started turning heads. He went from a lean footballer to a muscle-bound giant, sparking rumors about bodybuilding, strongman competitions, or maybe just starring in the next Avengers movie. But Wiese would go on to shock football fans when he made his WWE debut in 2016, teaming up with Sheamus and Cesaro in a tag team match. However, after his debut, he didn't pursue more matches with WWE. These days, Wiese keeps a low profile. He's not in the ring, and he's definitely not back on the pitch. Whether he's mentoring, lifting weights, or just enjoying the quiet life, one thing's for sure, Tim Wiese lives life on his own terms.